It's not often you see a group of teens taking on issues like homelessness, drug and alcohol use, and dealing with day-to-day stresses. But that's just what the Barnstable Youth Commission is doing. This year, the group of 7 students and their adult advisors planned a 2-day-long summit geared toward education and prevention. We take you inside the summit and give you a look at the Barnstable Youth Commission and their efforts.
Good evening, my name is Brendan Clark. I'm the Vice Chairman of the Youth Commission, and I am here with Judge Reardon. Judge Reardon, why do you think it was important for you to be here this evening?
Well, I think it's very important to support young people, to help young people with a voice. An organization that I originally founded, which I used to be president of, but there's another president now, new blood's taken over, was the Cape Cod Justice for Youth Collaborative, Inc. And I founded that in order to give young people a voice because I find that nobody listens to them. So we're trying to find ways and means of making known to the adult community the needs of young people. And I'm happy to say that we're still going strong.
So with your work with the Lombard Trust, how do you think that has helped the youth in this town?
There are so many young people in the town of Barnstable who are not able to afford some of the great amenities that are available, for instance, right here in the youth center. And I know the youth center has to charge a tuition for some of the programs that are run here. And I'm also aware of the fact that frequently young people do not have the funds to be able to pay for this, and their parents don't either. So the Lombard Trust, whose function is to help the poor of the town, we donate money to the youth center for scholarships for kids that need help in getting into the programming here, be it basketball or hockey or youth hockey or whatever it might be, whatever programming at all. That's a need that needs to be met, and we're trying to meet it.
What do you think, in your prior experience, what sort of events have really kind of propelled you to think that this is a very major issue here in the town, relating to drugs or substance abuse?
Well, for years for almost 15 years, I was the presiding judge at the Barnstable District Court, which is the People's Court, and it covers the towns of Barnstable, Yarmouth, and Sandwich now. It used to have Falmouth, Bourne, and Mashpee in the beginning, but they have their own court now. But it was my observation that young people in particular were falling into the trap of using drugs and getting hooked on alcohol or all kinds of drugs that led to ruination of their lives, literally. I mean, really ruination, because while they were high, they did dumb things. I had a favorite saying I used to ask, particularly young people who were in the dock, and older people too. I said, if I had a magic eraser and I could give it to you and show you your Corey record, your probation record now, and this magic eraser could erase every single thing on there that you did and were charged with while you were high under the influence of alcohol or drugs, how many things would be left? And invariably, I would hear that probably not many, Judge. So there's a powerful message there, and because most of the time that I saw people being arraigned in my court, they were charged with an offense while they were under the influence of something. It could be assault and battery, getting into fights, breaking into cars, breaking into houses, all kinds of foolish stuff that they did while they were under the influence. And I'm talking now about young men and women who ordinarily would not be doing this kind of stuff, except that their ability to make sound judgments was impaired or affected by substances. And that just used to drive me crazy, because that's what motivated me to start the drug court. When I started seeing people coming in over and over again, I said, punishment is not the deterrent here. It doesn't work. We have to drive the bus a different way. We have to look at the problem in a different way. And the problem really is, in addiction anyhow, is treatment, not incarceration. Incarceration does nothing. And we incarcerate people because we can't allow them to remain on the street because they're hurting people. So we put them in jail, but that doesn't solve the problem. The solution of the problem is in treatment, and we should be spending our dollars there instead of incarceration. We should be treating people.
And what do you think, what is one of your proudest moments with the drug corp? Like, what are some of the things that you've really taken away from leading it that have, inspired you?
Recidivism rate is drastically reduced. That is a proven statistical fact that we know for sure that treatment of people in the drug court worked. It stopped crime. Now, that doesn't mean people that graduate from the drug court program are not going to, stumble again. Sure they do. But one of the things that the drug court did, and this is very imperative that people understand this, we don't take people in the drug court and graduate them and expect that they're never going to use substances again. That's unrealistic to think that, because an addiction is a terrible disease. It's a problem. What we teach them is that if they stumble and fall, reach out for help. It's there. Don't go all the way to the bottom again and get back in trouble again. Call somebody. Call the probation officer you had, because he's your friend. Call Gosnell. Call the treatment managers you had. They're your friends. If nobody else, call me. I used to tell them that, and in fact, I have had people call me. Oh, and I think that's a powerful message, and that's one of the things that I think was the greatest accomplishment of the drug court program that we started in Barnstable. We called it the BAND program, and and the BAND program was kind of an acronym, we're trying to get people to realize that they've got a disease. It's not going to go away. They've got an addiction. It's going to be with them till the day they die. But what we can do is fight it together. They're not alone. Fight it together. The facilities are out here. The resources are out there. We'll help you. That's what we used to tell them. That was the message that we gave. And it worked. By and large, it worked. That's what caused the recidivism rate to fall. Not that people didn't use again. It's just they didn't commit crimes again when they were using. That was the big difference. So that was a very proud accomplishment, I think, of the drug court.
So what do you think is more important at this point in time, treatment or prevention? Where the line, sort of falls?
It's both. It's a combination of both. We have to. Prevention is very critical. There's no question about it. But a reality that we face is that some people are not going to be able to resist the siren call of alcohol, heroin, cocaine, marijuana, whatever the drugs of choice might be that gets them high, that turns them on, So it's important that we have prevention. But treatment is critical. It's essential, because once somebody is hooked, it's not going to go away. We don't have any magic pill we can give them to say you're going to be cured. That doesn't happen. Once you're addicted for life. So we have to deal with that. We have to deal with it, and it can be dealt with, and that's treatment. That's what I call treatment.
And what do you think? What other initiatives would you really like to see the town or just the region in general really take on to kind of lead this effort in combating it?
I love the fact that you young folks here have put together this forum that I attended here today. This is fantastic. I want to see adults get more involved, though. The problem doesn't start with young people. The problem is from the top down. It's the adult population, and that the adult population has to dig into this issue, and parents have to start paying more attention to their kids, to the problem that kids have. And that's where it really is all at, in my judgment, anyhow. And so what can the town do? The town can try to get more parents involved in the lives of their children in a real nourishing, important, substantial way. How to do this, I'm not sure. I really don't. But I know that that's what has to be done.
All right, well, thank you for giving us the opportunity to interview you today.
Glad to be able to be here. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Matt Hersey of the Barnstable Youth Commission, and I'm here with Tim Whalen, a state representative. Tim, what would you say are the biggest challenges facing the youth under 16 of Cape Cod today?
Well, I have to harken back to when I was under the age of 16, and also I have a 22-year-old and a 20-year-old daughter, and we've raised those children of mine down here. And I think it's keeping them busy, keeping them engaged, and with the busy lives that a lot of the parents are leading today, I think it's keeping the parents involved in the lives of these children. And because without the involvement of the family, it's harder for the children. And I remember when I was a kid, I didn't want my parents involved as much. I wanted to have my own autonomy. But I appreciate now, having been a parent myself, more than ever before, that parents need to be involved.
Thank you. So how do you think the state representative's office is addressing these challenges?
Well, I know I've filed some legislation specifically related to dispensing of Narcan and also for enhancing penalties for distribution of heroin, trafficking in heroin, and distribution and trafficking in oxycodone. I've also co-sponsored legislation that Representative Mantle filed as well, relating to the care of people who have had Narcan dispensed as part of their life-saving procedures. I also look forward to the conversation that we're about to have as we come into our budget season, because let's face it, this problem isn't going to go away without us putting a lot of resources behind our words and behind our legislation. One of the problems that we continually see is that there's an inadequate amount of money, in my opinion, that's being set aside for prevention and education. I believe the number, if memory serves correctly, is about 1% of the money that we spend right now out of our state budget for dealing with narcotics-related issues and opiate issues goes towards the prevention and education. I think we need to better invest ourselves by putting in our money by putting it to prevention and education, because I think that's where we're going to get our best bang for the buck. But we have to do this in a way that we're also attending to the needs of those people that are already suffering from addiction and in helping to support the families of those that are suffering.
Could you give me some information regarding the Narcan? I heard you say Narcan. I'm not entirely sure what that is. Could you explain that for me?
Sure. Narcan is right now it's dispensed by a nasal spray. It's also known as naloxone. When a person goes into overdose from opiates, like a heroin overdose, and their system starts to shut down and they're on the precipice, getting ready to fall off the cliff and pass away. If rescuers can get there, if first responders can get there in time, they can dispense Narcan with a nasal spray. What it will do is it's a blocker. It will block the receptors, and it will save that person's life. It'll block those receptors for about 30 to 40 minutes. The issue that we have, and it was related to the legislation that I filed, is that your body processes and metabolizes heroin for about an hour and 15 minutes to an hour 30 or so, depending upon who you ask. So the concern that we had was that people who have been administered Narcan because they're in overdose, that their body would metabolize the Narcan, and once the Narcan was gone from the system and the heroin remained, that they may relapse into overdose. My legislation was calling to give medical professionals in an emergency room the right to hold someone against their will for a period of up to 3 hours to ensure that they've been able to safely process the heroin from their system, and then before they're released.
How could a young person reach out to you guys in the state representative's office if they have a question or concern?
Sure. Probably the best and most effective way is I can be reached at my email address at the State House, and that's it's my first name dot my last name. It's Timothy, Timothy, dot Whelan, WHELAN, at MAHouse, MA is in Mass, MAHouse, one complete word, .gov. So Timothy.Whelan at mahouse.gov. I was just assigned an office, finally, yesterday. So I'm in room 39 in the State House. It's so recent an assignment of an office, I don't have my new telephone number committed to memory yet, so please forgive me.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you for letting me come here and share this event with you, with the Youth Summit people. This was very rewarding, and hopefully we can build on this. And as I said, we have to work toward better education and better prevention, and you folks are a big part of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
What attracted you to come to this today?
Well, I'm the chairman of the Cape Cod Justice for Youth Collaborative, and we're involved with developing systems or initiatives that prevent drug abuse. There's a rise in drug use in the county, and so this is a youth summit and forum on drug abuse, so that attracted my attention, and Patty Machado filled me in and signed me up.
And what is your organization doing right now to combat?
Well, we focus on system change to to bring about prevention. There's treatment of drug abuse, but that doesn't really stop drug abuse. It
Yeah.
just treats it. So look at system faults or failures that result in that can result in this problem. And one issue, one fact is that when adolescents don't get enough sleep, they're not very healthy. And this is something that's taken about 20 years to establish and prove. And when they're not healthy, it's as a consequence of sleep deprivation. And an adolescent doesn't fall asleep early in the evening like they did when they were not pre-adolescent. And this is due to changes in the brain and hormones. So when a school starts so early, at 7:30 in the morning with classes, the adolescent on average doesn't get 9.5 hours sleep. And the amount of sleep needed by an adolescent is 9.5 hours. So in time, the average adolescent gets only 7 hours sleep, and in time, that's a 2-hour deficit. So in time, that adds up. And it's proven to be a cause for there are consequences of this, like obesity, low self-esteem, and other metabolic disorders. But so low self-esteem is something that lowers your threshold or your barrier or defense against things like using drugs. When an adolescent starts to use alcohol or substances, then their development sort of stops at that point, and so that's why it's a bad thing.
So how large of a problem would you say that is, like right now?
Well, it's a large problem just because it's by all accounts, it's a rising problem by the number of drug overdose deaths. However, drug overdoses and so forth, or incidents of drug use, are documented to be more than they were in years past. Although drug abuse and alcohol abuse has been a problem for many years.
Well, thank you for coming.
Oh, good. And system change is important. And
Yeah.
so that's a little piece, delaying school start as a system. The school system started falling into starting classes so early, so change that system or identify other systems, like how come the day is structured that adolescents are let free at 2 o'clock in the afternoon without often supervision at home. Maybe something could be done about that. Or maybe parenting initiatives and helping hindered families get better parenting advice, because it seems to me that that's another issue.
Okay. Well,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hi, I'm Matt Hersey of the Barnstable Youth Commission. I'm here with Tim Luce and JT of the Cape Cod Youth Sports. Could I ask you guys how long you've been with this program?
That's a tough question. I mean, Cape Cod Youth Sports recently, as in the last couple of years, we've been doing more sports-related programs, but we've been doing a lot for community, for kids and youth for probably 20 years.
Awesome. What do you guys say is the biggest challenges youth face today?
I think one of the biggest problems that we have been coming across is trying to get to all the kids that we want to get to. Now, having a venue to do some of the events and ideas that we're thinking of, that's been a big hurdle for us. We do have access to a lot of different people and types of programs that we want to put forth, but there's so many things going on in the Cape. It's like you would never thought that there would be this many problems, whether it's abuse, whether it's drugs and alcohol, which is clearly the front runner right now, pregnancy, school, and just kids just being home by themselves and needing somewhere to go and somebody to talk to.
So how would you guys as a program address these challenges?
I think, speaking for myself, we grew up here in Hyannis, and I played sports my whole life. Still try to now, and I think that's where I come from. That's pretty much, I say all I know. So I think just to provide kids with a reason to not be having idle time. Giving them options to go out and play sports, no matter if it's with a big organization like Barnstable Little League or Barnstable Youth Hockey, or if it's with something like we've got going on here, which is kind of a alternate to a lot of the sports that kids play now.
So what could you guys give as some information on this program?
Some information on the program. Well, if one big thing that I can come from is with parents, that are looking for something like as an introductory to sports. And we have a lot of kids that play the flag football in our flag football league that have never played a sport before, and certainly not football. So I think that's something that we can offer, more on an introduction level. I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Well, I mean, yeah, and it's just the whole point of kids like coming out of their shell. And a lot of kids just they're home. And these kids aren't doing the same type of activities that we used to do, and being out and finding a group of friends to play with in the neighborhood. Because every kid's in the house on their phones, or they're playing computer games, and so nobody comes outside. And so these kids have no athletic skills. They have no social skills, also, which is a huge problem. So when you come out to Cape Cod Flag Football, when you come to the kids and you play with us in our league, you meet new friends. You see the kids like after the second week, the third week, and they're like, hey, what's up? Hi. And you see them out in public. They're so much more open, and you see that light turns on inside them. Because everybody's on a hustle. Everybody's fast. Parents got to work 2 jobs or whatever to take care of the other one, or some parents aren't, they just think it's my time now. No, it's not your time. It's about your child right now. And it's not a lot of time that you have to give up on a Sunday, for our flag football league, just to spend time with your kid and see what you got going on. They have a lot. You'd be amazed at what your child can do.
It's about a lot more than just sports. Again, I think that's the point that we're trying to get at. You got a lot of kids out there that, whether we don't care if they're athletes, if they're good athletes, as long as they're coming out and they're learning something. Like you said, social skills is a huge part of it. I think.
You guys need to strengthen the community.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So how could a young person contact you guys if you wanted to be a part of this?
If they want to play, if they want to get involved with Cape Cod Flag Football, our website is actually barnstableflagfootball.com. We also run an AAU basketball program,
Cape Cod Warriors.
CapeCodWarriors.com. We're on Facebook. We have phone numbers. We have email, barnstableflagfootball@gmail.com or capewarriors@gmail.com.
Yeah. JT's Chronicles. Right. I got a page, got a blog. It's fun.
Right.
It's enlightening to the whole Cape community, what we have going on. It's kind of a feel-good page, morning start stuff, and about what we have going on in the community. And people send us stuff that you might want to know about. We'll say Cape businesses and people that are trying to get themselves out and just part of the community, we love to support. Just as much as we want to support, we like to give it out also.
So they can reach us anywhere.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys so much for your time. This sounds like a great program.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Emma Mantle, and I'm here with the Youth Commission. We're here today for the Youth Summit and focusing on drug prevention. So I'm here with Brian Mantle, who is a state rep and happens to be my dad.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I saw you earlier. Okay, what is the significance of the Youth Summit to you, and how will you bring it into your daily life?
Well, I think the Youth Summit is interesting, and it's significant because it's bringing together a bunch of different groups and individuals from our community who might not otherwise have the chance to get together. And I think that's not only a good thing, but the fact that it's focused on children in our community is something that is endearing to me. I was a participant earlier in the forum and listened with other parents to a speaker who talked about the ways in which adults and parents can talk to their children about drug use. And so I learned some things in that forum, and that's something that I'm going to be taking with me moving forward.
Yeah, and Definitely. Also, as a state rep, what did you take away from it, and how do you think you can bring it to other people who haven't gone to this?
Well, as a state rep, there's a lot of things that we're doing right now on Cape Cod and in the Massachusetts legislature related to substance abuse. And this is a challenge, really, of our generation. It's something that over the course of the past decade has grown on Cape Cod. And so while the Youth Summit here is aimed at teaching kids and trying to help them understand, the importance of living sober lives, on a policy level, it's interesting to me because I'm learning about a bunch of different programs, many of which I think could be replicated and spread across the state. Everything from mindfulness and meditation to some of the human rights groups that are out there. I think that really what we need is more education in terms of prevention. There's not a lot of money that's spent on prevention, and I'd like to see that at the state level as well. So that's something that we'll be focusing on up in the legislature, I know.
As a parent, how did it affect you, and are there any thought-provoking questions or things that made you think about how you are raising your children and, like me, and my younger brother and your son? How will you take it to our family, and how will you use this in our daily lives and stuff?
I think one of the things that I learned tonight was about the importance of having honest and open discussions with your children about drug use and abuse. And, I think some parents shy away from those conversations because they don't feel comfortable with it, and they approach those conversations in a way that isn't the most productive for their children. They either yell at them and say, "You better not do this," or they stick their head in the sand and they think that it won't happen. And I think that one of the things that we all have to do is have an open discussion and say, look, there are dangers out there. And, for some people, they don't understand that, one-time use can lead to addiction. And in some people and in other people, it does not. But having a conversation with your teenager, with your children in your home, so that they understand that, the best way that we can live our lives is to do it consciously and obviously sober. And I don't mean that you cannot have alcohol from time to time, but there's a time and a place, and that time and place is not childhood.
Thanks so much for coming to the Youth Summit. We really appreciate it.